Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Shalona McFarland here in the Philippines. And today is January 29th. And I thought I would discuss sugar today. Since I found a little clip on sugar this morning that was quite interesting, I thought I would go in a little bit more in depth in what that looks like for us and what that means for us as human beings. And why we should avoid the stuff. So, sugar is one of the most age increasing products that we consume. So, it makes you age faster. It also feeds cancers. And there's a lot of research on that. People can say that that's not true, but they haven't looked at the research. I have a doc that is my nutrition guru. His name is Dr. Dan Murphy. Hi, Jeannie. He is an amazingly brilliant man. All he does is look at research all day long. He teaches research at one of the chiropractic colleges in California. When he's not doing that, he's teaching nutrition seminars to the rest of the country and around the world. He's extremely, extremely smart, pretty much has a photographic memory, and doesn't really forget anything. Hi, Chuck. So he was telling us when his mom was younger, I don't remember what age she was. He was young. He was like 16, I think. She was diagnosed with cancer, and I believe it was breast cancer. And it was aggressive, and the doctors basically told her, go home and die. There's nothing we can do. I mean, we could chemo you, we could do radiation, and we'd make a lot of money off of that, but you're going to die anyway. And she opted against the chemo and radiation and said, you know what, I'm going to try it my own way, and if I'm going to die anyway, I may as well die all intact and not completely destroyed. So she started doing research and decided that what she needed to do was go off sugar. And she did. And 20 years later, she did finally die from cancer. The medical doctors gave her about 6 months. She went off sugar, and she had a normal, healthy, productive life for 20 more years with no cancer treatments. And the one thing that Dr. Dan said, all of his siblings said when they came to her funeral, was she looked exactly the same as she had when she was in her 30s. And she was 60 some at that point, I believe. Because her skin hadn't aged. Like, sugar of any sort had not touched her lips in 20 years. So that's how pro-aging sugar can be and how pro-cancer it is. That's just one study, but there are literally thousands of them, and they're research documented, peer-reviewed, double-blind, all of that, placeboed. It's there. Okay, so the study I talked about, I don't know, a few days ago on fats and how it was saying that, fats were what was making America fat, and it wasn't. It was the sugar. Those same studies also showed an increase in cancers throughout those people who consumed more sugars. Now, 100 years ago, on average, the average American consumed about a half a cup to a cup of sugar per year. So sugar was actually a treat, not a daily activity. And they lived longer, they were healthier, they got killed by other things. Cancer didn't exist really, like, you didn't hear of it. Autism did not exist at all. Nobody knew what that was. ADHD, that didn't exist. Like, and it's not because these are things that were just discovered. No, it's because those things are being created. So, fruit. Sorry. Excuse me. Fruit is sugar. And fructose is one of the actual worst sugars for our body. Fruit is wonderful. I love fruit. I'm an advocate of fruit. However, you need to take it very carefully and watch the types of fruits. So bananas are very, very high in sugar. Watermelon is just sugar water um, uh, with like very little substance in between. So you need to watch your fruits. Melons in general are way too high in sugar. So people who are very sensitive to sugars can't do fruit at all. I know Dr. Dan's wife, she's very sensitive to sugar. She does 0 fruits. She does 0 sugar. The woman looks amazing. She works out every day. She flew through menopause like it didn't even exist. Like, sugar is a bad thing in our lives. Now, if you want that sweet, but don't want the side effects of sugar, honey is actually very good for us. It has a lot of health benefits in and of itself. Organic, local honey. So you want honey that's local to your area because it'll help fight your allergies, which I'm still fighting. Stevia is a naturally occurring 0-calorie sweetener. So if you need to use something, you can use stevia. Now it tastes a little different, it takes some getting used to, but it's much better for you than regular sugar, white sugar in particular. White sugar is bleached. It doesn't come that way. Turbinado sugar is natural sugar, and that's better for you. So you can do some turbinado sugar, but it is still sugar. They're all still going to spike your brain. Sugar spikes your brain worse than cocaine. The studies they did with rats showed that rats that were given cocaine for a month and then taken off, and then rats that were given sugar for a month and then taken off. So they basically went through the exact same withdrawal, okay? And then another group of rats, they taught how to hit a button to either get cocaine or sugar. So they gave them the same rush, basically. And the rats that got the button for cocaine and the rats that got the buttons for sugar, they were in control of how often they got a hit. Then they took all of those rats and put them in an area where there were 2 buttons. One button gave them cocaine, the other button gave them sugar. 100% of those rats chose sugar over cocaine because they got a bigger hit off of it. There's a reason why when people do drugs, they get the munchies. And they generally get munchies for sugar. It's because it's continuing that hit on the brain. So that's how bad it is for your brain. Okay, so honey, stevia, monk's fruit is okay. Xylitol is okay, but if you're diabetic, you need to stay away from the xylitol because that's an alcohol-based sugar, and you want to stay away from alcohol if you're diabetic. So that'll give you a few things. Oh, and if the product you're consuming says sugar-free, low sugar, no sugar, low fat, no fat, throw it away. It is toxic, okay? The low sugar, no sugar, all that stuff, it either has Splenda, aspartame, sucralose, saccharin, acesulfame, all of the sweet and low, all of that is the same poison, and it is 100% poison. Those are artificial sweeteners, and they mimic diabetes, MS, and lupus. And if you have one of those systemic diseases, it makes it worse. And just as a bonus, it turns into its cancerous form at 98 degrees. Our bodies happen to be 98.6. So stay away from the sugars. Definitely stay away from the artificial sweeteners. And the best way to get rid of sugar out of your life, a 3-day water fast. That's why I recommend them. Alrighty guys, hope that helps. Gives you something to think about and to mill over in your little brains today. And I will be back tomorrow. God bless, guys. 2 more days and the month is over. Then I go back to once a week videos. All right. Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.